All right, so we're looking at converting fractions, decimals, and percents to their equivalent forms in each of those other categories. So let's jump in here. This first one, it says rewrite the following fractions as a decimal and as a percentage. So go ahead and try this on your own. Click continue when you're ready to check your work and your answer. Okay, so to do this first as a decimal, and let me get my pen a little bit bigger here, we get 3 divided by 5, or 3/5. And all you need to do is the actual division. Now you can do this by longhand and say, okay, 5 goes into 3 0 times, create the decimal point, the 0, 5 goes into 36 times. So this is 0.6, and this is one of those ones where if you're unsure on the long division, you can pull out your calculator and go, okay, I need 3 divided by 5, what's its decimal form? And we get 0.6. So you can check your work that way on getting between the fractions and the decimals. Now that we have the decimal, we should be able to get it to a percentage. And I know they always give you that trick on move the decimal place, blah, 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 blah. But a fun little fact here is that percentages actually tell you how to get from a percentage to a decimal. If you look at the symbol, it actually tells you to divide by 2 zeros or 100. A percent literally means for every 100, or divide by 100. So this is to get from percentage to decimal. If we're going the other way, and we want to get from decimal to a percent, we just need to multiply by 100. So I'm going to take this decimal and multiply it by 100, and voila, we get our percentage is 60. By the way, never hit the percent key on the calculator. To be honest, I still, to this day, do not understand what that button does. So avoid that at all costs, okay? It does not convert to a percentage. It doesn't, I honestly have no clue. It does not do what you think it does unless you've actually been trained on a calculator, and no one has actually ever trained me on what that percent button does. So please do not use that percent button. It'll just get you into trouble. All right, try the next one on your own. You want to rewrite the decimal as a fraction and a percentage. So go ahead and try it on your own. Click continue when you check your work and your answer. All right, so we're starting with a decimal, and probably the easiest one to do off the bat is the percentage. And again, if we're going from a decimal to a percent, I'm looking over here on the right again, decimal to a percent, I'm going to multiply by 100. So let's go ahead and multiply this by 100. And we would get 0.125 times 100 is 12.5%. Now the fraction one's where we gotta maybe stop and talk a little bit, and I'm gonna give you a little trick here on how to create the fraction. And here's what I do, okay? I make my fraction bar, I put a 1 for the decimal point, I ignore the 0, and I put a 0 for each digit after the decimal point. So I go 1 for the decimal point, so that creates the 1, and then each digit gets its own 0. And now I just need to simplify this fraction. So I know 5 is going to divide into both of those. So 125 divided by 5 is 25. 1,000 divided by 5 is 200. And now I'm at something where I'm like, oh, 25 is going to go into both of these. I can actually see that pretty easily. So I can divide both of these by 25 now. And over here, I divided by 5, just so you guys can see what I did. Divide both these by 25. So this would be 1 over 200 divided by 25 would be 8. So this is going to be 1 over 8. So there's our percentage. And there's our fraction. And if we want to check this, how can we do it? Well, go to our calculator. 1 divided by 8, 0.125. So I did that correctly. All right, last one. Rewrite the following percentage as a decimal and a percent. And that should not say percent. That should say a decimal and a fraction. So you can fix that on your note guide because messed that one up, didn't we? So rewrite this as a decimal and a fraction. Hit continue after you've done it on your own to check your work and your answers. So again, we're starting with something and trying to move it to something else. And here we have a percentage. And if I look at my little cheat sheet I set up over here, to get from a percentage to a decimal, I divide by 100. So I'm going to divide this guy by 100. And watch what happens on my calculator. 87.5 divided by 100, 0.875. All right, and now that I have the decimal, now I can get the fraction. So we're going to start with our decimal. Remember Mr. Shear's trick. We put a 1 for the decimal point and a 0 for each digit after it. And there's the 8, there's the 7, there's the 5. So this is 875 over 1,000. And here we're going to have to simplify this down. Now I see 75, and I know that's divisible by 25. So this number is going to be divisible by 25, and so is this guy. So let's see what happens when we divide both of these by 25. 75 divided by 25, 35. And 1,000 divided by 25 is 40. And oh, look, it's going to go again. I have 35 and 40. I can see that's going to divide by 5. So I'm going to divide both of these by 5 and find out that this is 7 over 8. And again, just to check my work, 7 divided by 8, 0.875. That's what I started with. Times it by 100 to generate the percentage, 87.5%. So there we go. All right. Continue on with your lesson for today. I think there's going to be a game there for you to play. Have fun with that. If you need help, call your teacher, and hope to see you guys at the live lessons.